Have you ever bit into a slice of store-bought cake and thought this cake would be even better if it was homemade? Store-bought cakes are not as tasty as those that are made from scratch. Baking a cake from scratch is not as hard as it sounds. In fact, it's actually quite simple. A baker must first know what ingredients they're going to use, the preparation time that it's going to take to make the cake, and how long it's going to take for the cake to cook. Apple jelly cake happens to be one of my favorites. I got this recipe from my friend Gloria, who got it from her mother and grandmother. I truly enjoy baking. I really got into it about 5 years ago, taking it pretty serious and trying different recipes. Confidence paired with patience and the right ingredients will make the perfect apple jelly cake. The first thing a baker must know is what ingredients he or she will use. For this apple jelly cake, the oven must preheat at 350 degrees while we prepare our ingredients. For the cake, we're going to need 1 cup of butter, 2 cups of granulated sugar, 4 large eggs, in which I prefer to use brown eggs when I bake, 2½ cups of cake flour, 1 cup of milk, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. And for the frosting, we're just going to need an 8-ounce jar of apple jelly and a box of confectioner sugar. I like to bring my ingredients to room temperature when I'm baking, just to prevent any curdling when you mix the ingredients together. Secondly, we must know the preparation time for the cake. After getting all of our ingredients out and bringing them to room temperature, we will begin by creaming the butter and the sugar together, adding the eggs one at a time, just so we can make sure everything's blended together. In a separate bowl, we're going to combine the milk and vanilla, and then we're going to add that liquid mixture to the cream, alternating with the flour. Do liquid a little bit, then add a little bit of flour, and keep alternating until everything's mixed all together. We're going to mix it for 1 minute, and then you'll distribute the batter into 3 greased round baking pans. Thirdly, baking a cake at the right temperature is a very important key factor when you're baking a cake. After you pour the batter in the pans, you must place them in the preheated oven for 20 minutes or until your cake is golden brown. Baking cakes at the right temperature is super important. As you can see on the display, you can see the different textures of the cake when you're baking it at different temperatures. And I found that 350 degrees comes out as the right texture when you're baking a cake. But for this recipe, 350 degrees seems to be perfect. While the cakes are cooling, we're going to combine the jar of apple jelly and the confectioner sugar together. And with the sugar, it just kind of depends on how sweet you want the jelly to be. So however, I guess just taste as you're going, and you can see how sweet you want it to be, and then pour it all over the cake. Not only are homemade cakes a lot tastier than those that are store-bought, they're actually a lot healthier. There are actually a lot of many chemicals in the store-bought cakes mixes, and quite simply and inexpensive to make a cake from scratch. In fact, most of the ingredients are already in your cabinet, but a lot of people don't like to make them from scratch. It's a little bit easier to go and buy the one that's 99 cents, the mix, out of the store. All it takes for the baker is to be very confident in what they're making and patient while they're making their cake, and the finished product is going to be a delicious and moist homemade apple jelly cake. This is our finished product. This is the 3-layer cake with the apple jelly frosting on top.